Hey, what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. Let's start with a little Manning Passing Academy talk. As it went down this weekend, there were some media availabilities, and Garrett Nussmeier seemed to be one of the stars. Here's what CBS sports analyst Taylor McHargue had to say, quote, Garrett Nussmeier was the guy that just jumped out from LSU. It was all of the throws. He was a guy you knew obviously had a lot of arm talent and strength, but there was one right out of the gate where they threw the field quarterback, and anyone that's played the position knows it's one of the hardest throws in college football. He rips it to that field sideline, and just from there, every one of his throws for LSU fans certainly looked like, to me, someone to be excited because his arm talent is real. And, of course, this is an event that features all of the best quarterbacks in the entire nation. Now, I would say this to analyst McHargue. We kind of have known this about Garrett Nussmeier, right? The arm talent was the thing that made him so exciting initially. It's where that kind of gunslinger mentality is born from, right? You can't be a gunslinger if you don't got a cannon on your hip. And, well, Nussmeier does. What I've always been more intrigued by is, okay, you have the arm talent. You have the courage, right? The intangibles, the gumption to go out there and play quarterback and take risks. Now, can you be the leader? Can you kind of sand down the edges of that gunslinger mentality? Can you make the big plays while avoiding the big mistakes? And in what we saw out of Garrett Nussmeier last year, I believe he gave you a very tantalizing glimpse that he can do so. Again, the bowl game was awesome statistically, but it was more important situationally. I've talked about it a million times at this point. But yes, Nuss being able to lead that comeback against Wisconsin. Think about how different the offseason is. If you finish last season 9-4 with a loss to a really bad Wisconsin team, which you were on the edge of because your defense, my God, it was awful. You let old, what's his name, tear you up. Who's the quarterback in that game?
It was Tanner Mordecai.
Yes, Tanner Mordecai. Fresh off the farm in Pennsylvania with a beard not featuring a mustache. You almost got, I don't really think Tanner Mordecai is Amish, but he sounds Amish. The point is you lost almost to the most Amish-sounding and mediocre of all quarterbacks in the Big Ten. But thanks to Garrett Nussmeier and a heroic 94-yard drive, the mental toughness to not be flapped, right? Can you be flapped if you're unflappable? The mental toughness to not be flapped by a 14-point deficit. That's what I loved seeing out of Nuss. And all that I've heard from this entire offseason portion is the leadership, the confidence, everything else, it's all there. He knows it's his team. He's ready to take this team over and see what he can do with it. And I think for that reason, he's going to be one of the fastest risers in the entire country when it comes to quarterback. Like, the analysts know, the people who pay a lot of attention to college football know about Garrett Nussmeier's story, know who he is. I still believe that the general public at large do not. And in Nuss's favor, he's going to have, critically, a couple of technological innovations that should have been on NCAA sidelines, I don't know, for 20 years, but for whatever reason have not been. Now, one you've probably heard of, and that is the fact that quarterbacks are now going to be able to use helmet communication the same way that the pros have been doing for ages, right? Joe Sloan will now be in Garrett Nussmeier's ear up until there are 15 seconds left on the play clock, or when the ball is snapped, right? So if you are a very quick-moving offense, the OC could speak with you all the way up until the ball, until the ball is snapped. But again, officials will cut off helmet communication with 15 seconds left on the play clock or when it is snapped. Here's what Nussmeier had to say about it. Quote, "It's been huge. I think it adds a whole nother level to how our offensive coordinator is able to call the game, the checks we're able to make, and the things like that. It turns it into the NFL." Fellow Manning Passing Academy quarterback Riley Leonard, of course, now at Notre Dame, said it's like having the answers to the test. And I'll be very interested to see the dynamics of how all this plays out. Again, the 2020 forging of college football, the reforging, continues to be insane, guys. It's not just the transfer portal. It's not just new conferences that we've never seen before, a new 12-team playoff, but even down to things like we talked about the other day, the fact that now everybody on the shadow staff can be involved in coaching during practice and on game day. Now you've got helmet communication. Now, critically, you're also going to have tablets on the sideline where you can finally see what actually just happened. One of my biggest points of frustration and jealousy in my own playing days, well over a decade ago now, was that you'd watch the NFL, and actually, granted, a lot of this was pre-tablet even there, even though it came around basically when I was in college, the switch was made. You watch the NFL, and at first they'd have these printed out pictures of exactly what happened they could see, and then eventually became a tablet, and you could review the film right there on the sideline. And when you are in the middle of a game and all the chaos that ensues, a million moving parts, human missiles zinging everywhere all around you, pew, pew, like having a actual live feed of what just happened is invaluable. I mean, gone are the days of trying to piece it together. Like, this is how a general meeting used to take place on the sideline. Because look, when you're in a high level of football, you're actually, for the most part, not watching what the other side of the ball is doing when you're on the sideline. You are meeting, and you are trying to figure out what exactly the defense is doing, how are they looking to counter what we came out with, and then how do we counter their counter. And in my day, that was done through the coach basically sitting down and saying, okay, here's what we think we saw. What did you see? What are they doing here? And you're going down the line, and you're all trying, again, you're all adding little pieces of, okay, well, this is what my guy did, this is what my guy did. And you add it up, and then you get on the whiteboard, and you try to make a whole picture of it. You know what you do now? You look at the tablet, and you rewind the play, and you say, oh, well, look here. Look at this indicator from the safety here. Obviously, they're trying to bait us into this. Oh, this is, when we check here, this is what they're doing with the 3-tech, or the line is automatically slant. Like, it's just infinitely better. It cuts out all the base level communication of trying to establish what are they doing, and you get straight into the communication of what are we going to do. I love that. It's like something as stupid as having a Google Doc doing this show. One of my frustrations before we had a shared document that everybody could be involved in and read and keep up to date with what we'd always have to have the discussion. Okay, what are we doing here? And then what are we going to do next week? What are we going to do there? And it's just a baseline of communication that wastes time, makes you inefficient, and cuts you off from doing the work that needs to be done and making the show actually good. Well, in the same way, I love that you've cut out all of that BS now when it comes to the sideline of major college football. So not only do you have a Garrett Nussmeier that has years of experience now and growth, learning from a literal Heisman winner, an OC that he's been with for years, a team that he is clearly the leader of, but he will now have direct lines of communication with the coach to make his mental checks and everything else easier. And he'll have direct view of film on the sideline to make in-game adjustments easier. And then finally, the other part I love here, or maybe not the part I love, but something I'm going to be fascinated to see, the same way that he said, like, who will be the first to figure out what the best practice will be in terms of, okay, you can have all these new coaches now. What do we do? Who's going to figure out how to best manipulate the communication in helmet? And I don't think as much as tablets, because everybody's going to be, those best practices are kind of established. But like when it comes to the college game, are you going to run super tempo and try to allow the OC to basically be in the quarterback's ear, like snap it before 15 seconds, allow the OC to be in the quarterback's ear up to the snap, let the OC make all of the checks? Or do you go with a bit something slower? And if you're a defensive coordinator and you know a team's doing something slower, do you show them a look up until 15 seconds and then try to switch it up on them so the quarterback's out there on his own? Like, the implications for these decisions could be potentially huge. And I can't wait to see how Nuss and LSU and everybody manages it. But shout out to the Manning Passing Academy. which is one of South Louisiana premier football events as the entire football world descends upon Thibodaux, Louisiana. And shout out to Garrett Nussmeier, who seems to be acquitting himself very well amongst the best quarterbacks in the entire nation. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.